Okay, so there was one final thing that I just forgot to do. So that was to plot the beam axes or the cross-section axes. So this can just be useful to do to check all of our elements are orientated as we expect them to be. And we're going to do it just by using the vectors that we already have for the axes and just processing that data. So the one of them that we don't yet have in the same form is the Z vector. So I just need to replicate it. So I'm going to use a list length component and I'll run the x-axis vectors into that. Then I'll use a repeat data component. So I can run my list length in there. And then obviously the data we want to repeat is the y-axis. And then almost the final step is I'm just going to merge the different vectors that I have. So I've got the x-axis, the y-axis, and now the z-axis. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to simplify all of these. So we're just simplifying each of these. And then having simplified, I'm actually going to graft each of them. And the reason for that is I want my output, so basically in groups of 3 vectors, and I can just use this component from the display tab, so vector display. There is another option with a few more parameters to input, so vector display is actually going to be the simplest one to use. And as part of it, we need to have anchor points, as well as the vectors coming from those anchor points. So I'm going to choose the start point of each of my elements, run that to the anchor point. I'm actually going to graft that so it has the same data structure as the vectors. And then there we go. We can see the vectors in the top view. I'm just going to group these and middle click. And I'm going to call this plot the beam axes, and just to show that all of the vectors are there, so obviously these are the x and the y vectors. If we change our viewport so that we're now in the perspective, you can see there is a z vector. It's a little bit shorter than the other vectors, purely because it was put in originally as a unit vector. So obviously that's something you could scale if you wanted to. But there we are now finished with this block or this collection, this group of components. And the final videos that I'll make available are just going to be about on how to do contour plots. So we'll do 2 types of contour plots, one for the variables that we've already looked at, and then a final one to look at how the normal stress sigma xx is varying through the depth of the cross section. Okay, so I will join you for the next videos. Thanks.